نرحب بضيفنا إين هيرنون المحرر السياسي لصحيفة تريبيون الناطقة باسم الكتلة التعاونية في حزب العمال. Welcome, Ian Hernon, fellow lobby hack.
Thank you.
We've been talking about Martin McGuinness as a divisive figure. If you see what Lord Tibbet has showed here, show no forgiveness for this deadly coward who dodged justice. So he's a divisive figure, and perhaps for our viewers to show why, because of the IRA history of terrorism, his wife is in a wheelchair because of the Brighton bombing.
Well, I can fully understand his attitude. I actually watched both him and his wife being dug out from the rubble in the Grand Hotel at Brighton. So I can fully understand his feeling. On the other hand, Martin McGuinness was, in the last 20 years of his life, once he'd given up the bomb and the bullet, a force for peace. And he played a pivotal part in the Good Friday Agreement.
You are a historian as well. You wrote books about terrorism, about violence, about history, about the assassinations, history of assassination, and so on. Can he be called statesman in the journey you described?
Because of the events of the last 2 decades, yes, he can. It is very difficult. He certainly was never regarded as a statesman by the families of his victims, and there were an awful lot of them. But he was 2 years younger than me, and I remember the first week I started on local papers was the first when the Troubles erupted. Now, I was 16, he was 18 or 19. He was
That was 1968.
69 was
69,
the first killing, actually.
Yeah,
I come from a Scots-Irish Catholic background, and if I'd been brought up in the Bogside as he was, I probably would have been throwing bricks and petrol bombs. I doubt very much I would have taken the next step, because by the time he was 22, he was the second in command of the IRA brigade in his hometown of Derry. In his first year, him and his unit killed 26, I think, British soldiers, and turned the commercial district of Derry into rubble.
I remember talking to him and Gerry Adams when they managing the campaign for the election of Bobby Sands during the H-Block strikes. And I was surprised the amount of actually respect they commanded. They almost controlled the entire Republican Catholic community. Was that actually a key to his strength to be able to throw away the gun and go for peace?
It was partly that, and over the decades, I've spoken to a lot of British Army commanders who respected him as a soldier on the wrong side to them, but they respected that. But within the command of the IRA itself, it wasn't so much the people that he killed in battle on the streets. It was, a legend grew up, and I don't know how much of this is true, but he personally is said to have killed 11 informers, not on the streets, not in battle, but in
cold blood.
In cold blood, in cellars, in rooms behind pubs and so on. Now, whether he actually did that, whether it was 11, I don't know. I know he did some. But more importantly was the boyos, the IRA, at every level, certainly believed that. So without McGuinness, Gerry Adams, for example, on his own, could not have persuaded the hard men in the IRA
to give up power,
to make compromise, do deals, give up arms, and so on. So in that case, he was pivotal. And the dilemma, when you show me these pictures, and I vividly remember them, the dilemma is, does a terrorist ever really become a statesman? In his case, yes.
I don't know, maybe because we have in South Africa and Ireland, maybe we can repeat the experience in Palestine, but
I'm not sure whether there are any real parallels with Palestine, but all through history, at what point does a terrorist become a freedom fighter when it becomes a statesman? Nelson Mandela, for example, said himself that he didn't go to prison for selling Bibles.
Yeah.
He was convicted under terrorist acts.
Well,
and now, of course, he's a saint.
Well, speaking about another civil war, Labour Party. Right. Tom Watson accusation.
I did a deep sigh there. Because if you're asking me whether Labour can survive this current civil war, I just don't know.
Really?
Yeah.
Labour Party split in the early 1980s, the SDP with the Gang of Four gone there. Are we going to see a split? I mean, especially with this really, what happened on Monday in the committee room.
As a Labour man, I sincerely hope not, but there certainly are the divisions, which I can't see how they can be healed at the moment. I mean, it is comparable to the Labour splits in the early 80s, the Liverpool militants and so on, who Neil Kinnock saw off. A lot of the people around Jeremy Corbyn come from that era and have the same inclinations. And if they weren't there then, certainly their sons and daughters were.
If Union is persuaded to take a more pragmatic view, can they actually have an effect?
Oh, certainly, certainly.
Can they be persuaded?
Yes. Len McCluskey, who I personally like and have dealt with quite a lot, but there's no doubt, even though he denies it, he was part of all the old Liverpool militant crowd. And he also is surrounded by people who do not really want to win elections. The last thing they want is for Labour to win the next election, because they're still stuck in this mindset where if we have a decade after decade of Tory right-wing government, then the people will rise up and sweep a socialist utopia. Well, looking around, that's not going to happen, is it?
Well, we'll come and get you some more umbrellas because you came with. Now we'll go for a break. ابقوا معنا نذهب إلى استراحة قصيرة نعود بعدها إلى من لندن. نعود إلى ضيفنا Ian Hernon. Osborne, as an editor of a newspaper, is just like you and I becoming doctors.
Yeah, except he probably won't kill as many people as you and I would if we became doctors.
Well, you, as an editor, it's actually 7 days a week, 24-hour job. Can he do it? He is an MP and advisor to a bank and gives lectures.
I think it's the sheer number of extra jobs he's got, which is a problem. I'm deputy editor and basically I do all the work. With the exception of my current editor and two or three other exceptions. I probably worked for 24 editors and over the last 48 years, and they've all pretty much been rubbish. So it's not particularly onerous.
He joined the club.
I mean, as you well know, in newspapers, we do have a saying that in newspapers it tends to be the scum that reaches the top.
Oh dear.
So I'm not accusing Mr. Osborne of being scum, but I'm actually more concerned about someone who was Chancellor of the Exchequer in political terms 10 minutes ago, raking in for 4 days a month work. I've got the figures. I think it's 650,000 as a
That's
consultant for
advisor
BlackRock Investments.
And then the lectures.
Well, in the last year,
following Tony Blair's.
yeah, no, I don't particularly mind the lectures, but he's actually earned £786,000 in the last year for 14 speeches.
We're envious bastards, aren't we? Anyway, listen.
I mean, put it this way, if I was one of his constituents, well, I obviously wouldn't vote for him anyway, but certainly not. I mean, certainly his constituency must think, well, hang on, when are you going to squeeze in our interests?
True. Okay, speaking of his constituency is going to disappear in the redrawing of the boundaries.
Yeah.
Do you think he's preparing another power base to attack Theresa May?
Probably. Unfortunately, as we discussed earlier, he could end up as the real opposition to Theresa May, rather than Labour in its current shambles.
civil war. اوكي، ختاما احتدم الجدل حول تعريف الفطيرة أو الباي، لأن هناك فارق في الثقافة المطبخية الإنجليزية بين الفطيرة الباي والكيك الكعكة والفلان أو الفطيرة المسطحة. طبعا ايه الحكاية؟ المشكلة أثرتها الديلي تيليغراف، لأن ماري بيري طباخة التلفزيون تجرأت على انتهاك التقاليد المطبخية وعملت فطيرة بلا قاع من العجين، أي جوانب وغطاء فقط، ومن ثم حسب التعريب المشترك لا يمكن أن تكون باي أو فطيرة. أكثر من 50,000 وقعوا عريضة لمنع تسميتها باي أو فطيرة. لو جمعوا 100,000 توقيع ستناقش في البرلمان. The story of the pie. It's actually the Daily Telegraph, and about 50,000 people signed a petition because Mary Perry made a pie that cannot be defined as a pie. Are you a pie man? Or
well, I don't think that Tribune has an editorial policy on pies. Personally, I prefer steak and kidney.
I love steak and kidney pie.
But when is a pie a pie? Now, of course, if the petition has got 50,000 so far, it only needs to double that, and we could see a full-blown debate in the House of Commons on this issue, which, given the state of the world at the moment, is fairly ludicrous. But on the other hand, a week or two ago, we had because of a similar petition, we had a debate on women wearing high-heeled shoes in the workplace. What?
What is the world is coming to?
Correct.
As my mom would say, and my mom would never ever have accepted this definition of a pie. I thank Ian Hernon very, very much.
It's been a pleasure, Adel.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
أشكر ضيفنا إين هيرنون، ونشكركم على المتابعة، واللقاء الأسبوع الجاي من لندن إن شاء الله. ما تنسوش تتابعونا على تويتر وعلى الفيسبوك. إلى اللقاء.